One of the great Psalms that I would like to deal with in this video is Psalm 24. We'll be reading the Hebrew and talking about the Hebrew grammar, looking at each word inductively, for the most part, with commentary, and then also seeking to do historical Hebrew grammar as we're working through it. So it's a psalm. It's really what we might call an entrance psalm, where the ark is being brought into Jerusalem, and many believe it has to do when David, of the time, or concerning the time, when David brought the Ark of the Covenant. And in 2 Samuel chapter 6, he brought it from the house of Obed-Edom to the tent which had been prepared for it in Jerusalem. And this psalm then became very popular in the Jewish tradition. It was recited in the temple on the first day of the week. It's also the title of David bringing it is stated as well in the Septuagint. So I would like, with that as the historical background, I would like to go through it, make comments grammatically, doing some historical Hebrew grammar as I'm doing it, but also talk about what this says to me as a Christian minister through the lenses of New Testament theology. I believe there is a wonderful link between Psalm 22, Psalm 23, and Psalm 24 from a theological, Christological point of view. Psalm 22, in terms of New Testament lenses, looks at the cross work of Christ. We might even entitle it the prayer of Christ upon the cross. Psalm 23 shows how Jesus in the New Testament becomes the Good Shepherd in John chapter 10. And then here, I believe we're looking at his ascension into heaven. Jesus Christ is the final, can we say, Ark of the Covenant, that is the one who has entered into the Holy of Holies, that is heaven itself. So we begin. The David Mizmor, that is a psalm belonging to David. David could be the author here, and that's my take on it, with the Lamed Actoris, the Lamed of authorship. So a psalm belonging to David, and Mizmor means song or song. The Adonai Ha'aretz Umeloah, that is, the earth belongs to the Lord and its fullness. Tevel, the Yoshevei Vav, that is, the world and those who dwell in it. Notice, La Adonai, we have the inseparable preposition le, and then Hashem, or Yod He Vav He, speaking of the Tetragrammaton, to the Lord belongs the Ha'aretz, the earth. It's interesting to me that we're looking at the Lord as the possessor of the earth and its meloah, its fullness. Notice is the pronominal suffix, feminine singular, with the and malo means fullness. So to the Lord is the earth and its fullness. Then we have a repeat in this beautiful synonymous parallelism, Tevel, the Yoshevei Vav, that is, the world and those that dwell in it. Notice Tevel is synonymous with Ha'aretz, the world, and Yoshevei, notice is from, it's a participial form from Yashav. We have a holem, an O-class vowel, followed then by the tzer yod, putting it in the plural. So it's a cal active participle, masculine plural, And so those who dwell in it, the dwellers in it. And notice va is the inseparable prefix, the bait, and a is the pronominal suffix, third feminine singular. So belonging to the Lord is all of the world and all of its inhabitants. As a Christian minister, I cannot help but see in the New Testament a conclusion brought around Jesus Christ, because all things were made by him. We're told in John 1, verse 3, Panta diautu agenata, taikuris agenata, udechen chageganin. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Also, when we look at Jesus Christ, and especially in the book of Colossians, he is the agent of creation, and all things stand together in him. And he's the fullness of everything. So as I make New Testament application, this is what I'm seeing here when I look at the New Testament. And also Jesus takes the title Yod He Vav He and applied it to himself in the Gospel of John, John 8, where he said, before Abraham was, ego eimi, I am, which actually is going back to Exodus 3, Eyeh Asher Eyeh. Who do I tell them has sent me? Tell them I am that which I am. So as I'm reading this, I'm also seeing how it beautifully applies in my personal conviction to Jesus Christ, seen through New Testament lenses. So we go on. V'hu al yamim yesada, v'al necharot yechonenecha. For he, upon the waters or upon the seas, has established it or founded it. And noted or founded, I guess is the way I would translate yesada. And upon the floods or upon the Naharot, not just rivers, but probably floods, he has established it. Yehonenecha. Notice, as we look at this, ki is your conjunction giving the reason why the Lord himself is the possessor of the earth. For he has, first of all, founded it upon the waters. Notice who is your personal pronoun, third masculine singular, and al is your preposition upon, and yamim is the plural for seas, from yam. And notice yesada is from the root yasad, the found. It is a cal perfect, third masculine singular, with a pronominal suffix, third feminine singular. So he upon the seas has founded it, and upon the Naharot, upon the floods, he has established it, or upon the, I guess we could translate this floods. The many commentators refer this to the world resting on subterranean waters. And while that's true, I think it could be looking also at what the Lord does in Genesis 1. He divides the waters from the waters, and he causes the dry land to appear. And certainly at that point then, it is resting between the yamim, or the waters. And notice, yehonenecha is from the root kun, to establish. What I'm understanding this to be is a polel, imperfect, third masculine singular from kun, with the pronominal suffix in the ha, third feminine singular, the pronominal suffix. So upon the seas, he has established it or founded it, and he has established it upon the floods, the waters underneath the earth. And so we move on to verse 3 with the question as to who can ascend into his presence. Mi ya'aleh bahar Adonai. That is, who will ascend unto the mountain of Yahweh, of the Lord. Imi yakum bimkom kodsho. Here we have the interrogative pronoun who, and notice Ya'aleh is from the verb Allah, to go up, because in Jerusalem you would go up to go into Jerusalem or in the Holy Land. And so who will go up, Behar Adonai, unto the mountain of the Lord. That is your preposition. Har means mountain. It's in construct with Yod He Vav He. And then he asks the second question, a repeat with this synonymous parallelism. Mi yakum bimkom kodsho. Notice the beautiful alliteration here, yakum bimkom. In other words, who shall stand? This is from the middle weak verb kum. It is a cal imperfect, third masculine singular from kum. So who will stand bimkom kodsho, in the place of his holiness, literally. Bet is your inseparable preposition. Makom means place, and kodsho is from kodesh, meaning his holy place. And notice O is your pronominal suffix, third masculine singular. So the question is, who is going to go to where God is? Who will have access to him? And we're going to see it's the person that has clean hands and a pure heart. Notice verse 4. It reads, Neki chapayim uvar levav, asher lo nasa l'shav nafsho, velo nishba lemirma. The one who is able to do that is the one who is pure of hands, literally innocent of hands. And I think we're looking here at one who has not done violence, and one who is also honest, and so is innocent of hands. Notice I'm understanding this innocent or pure, this adjective in construct with chapayim, the dual ending, and because you'd have two chapayim or two hands. So here we have a construct idea, I think, the pure of hands, or the clean of hands, and uvar levav, and the pure one of heart. Notice vav, or var, means pure. Again, I believe it in construct with levav, meaning heart. So the one who is, can we say, innocent of hands and pure of heart. Asher lo nasa l'shav nafsho, who has not lifted up his soul to vanity. Notice asher is your relative pronoun, lo is your negative particle, nasa is cal perfect third masculine singular from the root nasa, to lift up, l'shav, to a vanity or a vain thing. Now nafsho basically here is the reading of the Ketib. Another reading that the Masoretic text follows is nafshi, who has not lifted up to vanity my soul, speaking sort of, can we say, by way of application of God's name itself. I personally follow the Ketib here, I'm thinking, who has not lifted up to vanity his soul. In other words, he is not sworn in a vain way, in an untruthful way, or for something that is absolutely, can I say, vain. He has not done that. And then asher lo, and then velo nishba lemirma, and he has not sworn to deception. Notice nishba is your nifal, perfect, third masculine singular, from the root shabbat, that noon prefix, giving it away as a nifal, and then to deceptiveness. In other words, he is going to be honest. He does not swear in a dishonest way. And I'm reminded of what Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount. Let your speech be yes, yes, and no, no. But then we go on, and this is showing who may approach into God's presence. Yisa v'recha me'et Adonai, u'tzedekah me'Elohei Yish'o. That is, such a one will receive or will lift up a blessing from the Lord. Notice Yisa historically was yin sa. It's a pay noon verb, a one noon, where the noon of the root has assimilated into the scene by progressive assimilation historically. So yin sa became yissa. That's why we have the doggish forte in the scene. He shall receive or lift up a verecha, a blessing, me'et Adonai. From, here we have the preposition in the mem here, from the Lord. And u'tzedekah me'Elohei Yish'o, and righteousness from the God of his salvation. I'm thinking the meaning of tzedekah here means God's deliverance given to such a one because, or vindication because of his faithfulness to the Lord when he comes into his presence. And so we could say vindication or deliverance from the God of his salvation. Notice me is the preposition min. Min Elohim became me Elohim because the noon had assimilated, or excuse me, had dropped out, and we have compensatory lengthening under the mem then, from the hirik to the tseri. So righteousness or vindication from the God of his salvation. Notice Elohei is in construct with Yish'o, meaning salvation. And O is your pronominal suffix, third masculine singular. So the one who receives the blessing from the Lord is the one who has purity of heart, clean hands. And then we go on to verse 6. Zedor Dorsho Mivakshe Fanecha Yaakov Selah. Such, or this, is the generation of the one who seeks him. And notice the demonstrative pronoun ze, followed by dor, meaning generation. This is the generation, or can we say the type of person who seeks him. Dor show, I would parse this or understand this and point this as a cow active participial construction, masculine singular, with the O, the pronominal suffix, third masculine singular. So the one who really is going to receive a blessing will be like this, with a pure heart. Mevakshe fanecha Yaakov, that seek your face, O Jacob. And notice, mevakshe is from bakash, to seek. It's a PL participle with your mem prefix, and your shava pathat gives it away as a PL stem. And the seriyod is this participial form in construct with fanecha. So the one who seeks your face, and notice panayim becomes panecha, a paneh in construct with cha, your pronominal suffix, second masculine singular, O Yaakov, O Jacob. And I'm reminded how that Jacob, as we go back to the Bereshit, the first book of the Torah, how that Jacob wanted to see the face of the Lord. And he was wrestling with him, wanting to see his face. And so those that want to go into the presence of the Lord, who want this beatific vision, this will be what their nature needs to be like, I believe. And they need to be like Jacob then, who was changed from a deceiver to one who had striven with God and had prevailed and became a prince with the Lord. Then as we move on to verse 7, notice he's talking now about the ark being brought in to Jerusalem. Sa'u sha'arim roshechem, v'henasu'u pitchei olam, v'yavo melech ha'kavod. That is, lift up, O gates, your heads. The gates need to be lifted up because God's, can I say, greatness is so great that the gates are too low. So they need to be lifted up. And notice Sa'u is from the root nasa, to lift up. It is a cow imperative, second person masculine plural from nasa. So lift up, O gates. She'arim means gates. Roshechem, your heads. Notice Rosh means heads or head. And Roshe, you have the Tseru Yod, which is in construct with Chem. So lift up, O gates, your heads. In other words, elevate them. And Roshe, as we said, is in construct with Chem, your pronominal suffix, second person masculine plural. Vehenasu'u pitchei ulam, and be lifted up, everlasting doors. Notice nasa is to lift up, and hinasu'u is a hifil imperative, second masculine plural from nasa. Notice the I gives it, excuse me, not a hifil, it's a nifal imperative. So it would be hin nasa'u. That would be lifted up. So it's really a nifal imperative. Notice the hey with the gives it away, along with the hirik, the I vowel, the doubling of the noon shows that a noon of the nifal stem had assimilated historically. Hin nasa'u became hin nasa'u with the doubling of the noon. So be lifted up, we would translate it, everlasting gates, or everlasting doors, doors of everlasting. Notice Pitche is in construct with Olam here. V'yavo melech ha'kavod, and the King of Glory will come in. Notice Ve is just your simple conjunction, and Yavo is from the verb bo, to come or go. It's a cow imperfect, third masculine singular. So, and Melech HaKavod is the King of Glory. Notice Melech is in construct with HaKavod. So the King of Glory will come in. This is looking at the ark as it was going in to Jerusalem, no doubt during the time of David. And then notice the next verse, verse 8. We have those that are guarding the gate. We could say the sentries are challenging, what is this all about? And so they say, Mizeh Melech HaKavod. And the answer comes back, who is this King of Glory? The answer, Adonai Izuz V'Gibor, Adonai Gibor Milchama. That is the Lord strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle. And so as the sentries ask this question, me is your interrogative pronoun, Zeh is your demonstrative pronoun. Who is this King of Glory? Notice Melech is in construct with HaKavod. And the answer comes, the Lord Izuz the Gibor, the Lord strong and mighty. Here we have two adjectives describing the Lord. And the Lord Gibor Milchama, the Lord mighty in battle. Now this probably is looking at, no doubt, what had happened with the Philistines and the ark and so forth, when the ark did its own, can I say, judgmental work on the Philistines. And the Lord now is bringing it into Jerusalem, or David is bringing it into Jerusalem. But as I see this from a Christian perspective in the New Testament, my mind goes to Christ, who has conquered death, conquered Satan, conquered the demons, and he is now ascended to the Father's right hand, looking at his ascension. Who is it? The question is asked. The angels, no doubt, who are the sentries, might be asking, This is the Lord mighty in battle. Uh, who is the Lord mighty in battle? Christ, in his ultimate fulfillment in the New Testament, who has conquered sin, Satan, the demons, and death itself. And so that would be my take on it as a Christian teacher and minister. So then verse 9, Se'u she'arim roshechem, ve'se'u petchei olam, v'yavo melech ha'kavod. We have the repeat of the question, lift up, O gates, your heads, as we saw above, and lift up your everlasting doors, or you everlasting doors, lift it up so it will be high enough for the Lord to come in. The Yavo Melech HaKavod, and the King of Glory will come in. Here we're seeing a repeat of what we saw in verse 7. And then the question is asked, Mihu ze Melech HaKavod? Who is this King of Glory? Then the answer is given. By the way, me is your relative pronoun again. Who is your, me is your interrogative pronoun. Who is your personal pronoun, third masculine singular. Zeh, again, is your demonstrative pronoun. Who is this King of Glory? Melech HaKavod, two nouns in construct. The answer comes back, Adonai Sebaot, the Lord of hosts, who Melech HaKavod. That is, he is the King of Glory. Adonai Sebaot is a famous expression given to speak of the Lord himself. So the Lord of hosts. Some apply this to the Lord's victory, like when David challenged Goliath and was victorious. However, I personally think the other meaning I prefer, and that is, he is the Lord over the heavenly host of Genesis 2, verse 1. All the heavens were created in all their hosts, all of their great hosts. And so I'm thinking it's showing the Lord as the supreme sovereign, the supreme king over the whole universe and over all of the heavenly realm, the angels, the stars, and so forth. And when I look at the New Testament, I cannot help but see Jesus Christ as the one who is also along equal with Yahweh, Adonai Tsebaot, the Lord of hosts. He is King of all kings, Melech Melechim, Adon Adonai. In other words, Kyrios Kyrion, the Lord of lords, the King of kings. Jesus is that when we read it through New Testament lenses. So in summary here, by way of New Testament application, I think Psalm 22 looks at the cross. Psalm 23 looks at Christ as the good shepherd as a result of dying for the sheep and then shepherding them and caring for them. And chapter 24 here looks at the ascension of Christ as he has gone into the presence of his heavenly Father and shares that glory that he had shared with the Father from all eternity. What a beautiful, beautiful text this is. And I see a triad of Psalms in a Christological sense, referring to Jesus Christ in his death again, in his shepherding work, and finally in his ascension to the right hand of God the Father, having defeated sin, death, Satan. Someday he's reigning until he put all enemies under his feet, the last of which, Paul says, will be death itself. Let us make sure that we all have our faith rooted in Jesus Christ, for he is Melech Sabaoth, the King of hosts.